2018 Audi TT RS. Respect, in the year 2017, is not earned. It is alternately assigned and rescinded by fanboys and trolls warring on the internet. He who makes the last argument wins. In this deafening digital echo chamber, it appears unlikely that the Audi TT will ever outrun its reputation as a pretty face lacking sports car credibility. Thankfully, that hasn't stopped Audi from trying its damnedest to disprove that notion with its second-generation TT RS. Armed with a kindergarten classroom's worth of hexagons and trapezoids, plus 400 horsepower from that quintessentially Audi turbocharged inline-five engine, the TT RS both looks and moves like a sports car. Outcornered and outbraked. The lofty comparisons fray a bit when you look beyond acceleration figures, though. The RS laps the skid pad at 0.99 grams of lateral grip. That's respectable in the real world, but it won't earn Audi any online cred when a Corvette Grand Sport can top 1.10 grams. On serpentine back roads, the TT RS rips around corners with the resolute stability that's characteristic of the entire TT lineage. This trait has benefits. The predictability allows drivers of all skill levels to approach the edge of the RS's capabilities without fear of expensive, pride-busting excursions beyond the limits. And while you're unlikely to encounter a Cayman or a Corvette during the winter months wherever snow falls, the TT RS is only a set of winter tires away from being a formidable year-round daily driver. But it'd be dishonest if we didn't admit to wanting more excitement from the TT RS's chassis. And we think Audi is capable of building such a car. The Audi RS3 is offered with an optional tire package that mounts wider rubber on the front axle than the rear. On Audi Sport's smallest hot rod sedan, a 2018 10 Best Cars winner that has the same powertrain as the TT RS, that staggered configuration gives the car surprisingly neutral handling characteristics. Audi fits 8-piston monoblock brake calipers on the front end of all TT RS models, with our test example wearing the carbon ceramic front rotors that are part of the $6,000 Dynamic Plus package. Despite this impressive-sounding hardware, we measured an underwhelming 70 mph to zero stopping distance of 154 feet. We'd expect a car of this caliber to come to a halt about 10 feet sooner, although blame for that rests on the tires and the front heavy weight distribution, 60.7 39.3% front, rear, more than the brakes. Simplicity is sexy. At its $65,875 starting price, the TT RS asks for Cayman S and Corvette Grand Sport money, which is exactly where it should be. Even if it doesn't match the Corvette's lateral grip or the Porsche's prestige and handling nuances, the Audi compensates with style and daily driver utility. Unlike the Corvette, the TT RS's $65,000 worth of performance doesn't require an overt sacrifice in interior quality. Quite the opposite. More striking for what has been left out than what's been designed in, the TT's interior is a stylish masterpiece of simplicity and modernity. Audi omitted the infotainment screen that dominates the center stack of nearly every new car and moved the navigation and audio functions into the 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. The climate controls are neatly integrated into the very vents that warm and cool the cabin, leaving the center stack spare and beautiful. And although cramming so many functions into one screen has the potential to result in an unusable headache, Audi made it remarkably intuitive. The only flaw in the design is that the steering wheel spokes often obscure the rear-view camera display as you back into or out of a parking space. With an engine that brims with character, a design that oozes style inside and out, and feverish straight-line acceleration, the TT RS occupies its own niche within the sports car segment. It's a car worthy of respect, but that's not up to us to decide, is it? That's what the internet comments are for. 2017 Porsche 718 Cayman S. A rose by any other name might smell as sweet, but what if that rose had a 4-cylinder engine? That's the dilemma raised by the new Porsche 718 Cayman S, the replacement for a car that was pretty much perfect and one that has traded its predecessor's charismatic flat 6 for a new turbocharged flat 4. We know that engines everywhere are downsizing these days, but this one feels like a personal affront. Offsetting the reduced cylinder count is the enhanced vitality of the Cayman S's stats, which match those of the Boxster S. The 2.5-liter turbocharged flat 4 has 350 horsepower, 25 more than the 3.4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 in the previous Cayman S, along with 309 pounds-to-foot of torque, an improvement of 37 pounds-to-foot that has cut half a second from the factory-stated 0 to 60 mph time, when equipped with the PDK dual-clutch automatic, as well as improved fuel economy. Sound off. Much of what we've said about the turbocharged engine in the 718 Boxster holds true here, but the Cayman's fixed roof means its driver has no means to escape from its new, carefully engineered soundtrack. You have to listen hard to discern the loss of cylinders. At idle, there's a shadow of the sewing machine noise of an air-cooled Volkswagen Beetle, or, more appropriately, a Porsche 356 or 912. But brush the throttle even lightly, and this gets buried beneath more muscular induction and exhaust noises. These get louder and more forceful as the engine is worked harder, enhanced by a system that augments certain frequencies. It sounds fine, there are even some pops and bangs on the overrun in the punchier sport mode, but it just doesn't sound anywhere near as good as its predecessor. Then again, few cars ever did. More than compensating for the oil deficiency, the 718 feels decidedly quicker than the old Cayman S, and to a greater extent than the raw numbers suggest. Much of this is due to the engine's boosted output. While the old 3.4 had to be whipped like a racehorse to deliver its best, the turbo engine's torque curve is as flat as an Iowa cornfield. The peak 309 pounds-to-foot is maintained from 1900 to 4500 revolutions per minute, and although there's a fractional hesitation when making big throttle applications at lower engine speeds, thanks to a lag-reducing variable geometry turbo, it's too brief to really describe as light. The 718 is much happier to pull its tall gearing than the old car ever was. It feels almost as quick upshifting at 5,000 revolutions per minute as when it's revved to the 7,500 revolution per minute fuel cutoff. The new engine is only part of the transformation. Porsche excels at balancing performance with grip, and the 718's extra urge has required a comprehensive chassis reworking to keep it in check. Changes include firmer springs and dampers and a quicker steering ratio with revised geometry. Our test car had the Porsche Active Chassis Management option that brings both adaptive dampers and a 0.8-inch reduction in ride height. The collective results on a demanding road are nothing short of startling, with the Cayman S extracting huge adhesion from its Pirelli P0 tires. Our test car had a full boatload of dynamic options, including the Sport Chrono Pack and brake-based torque vectoring, which could be felt helping out in slower turns. The manual gearbox is still a peach, and the S now gets the 911 Carrera's 4-piston brake calipers, which seem tireless under hard use. Less like a 911. This sharpening makes the 718 feel more mid-engined. Previous Caymans often felt as if they'd been set up to deliver a 911 light driving experience, in keeping with their position in Porsche's brand hierarchy. But the S now feels markedly more responsive and agile than a base Carrera, better able to exploit its optimized weight distribution when it comes to making progress along a twisty, bumpy road. The extra torque can be used to help give directional advice. Even small throttle changes exert a noticeable influence on the cornering line under high lateral loads, but never to the extent of dominating the proceedings. On first impression, this still feels like the best balanced junior sports car in the game. The engineers behind the new Cayman S should be proud. It's demonstrably better than its predecessor in pretty much every measurable metric. It's only when we come to the less quantifiable matter of soul that we have to report continued concern. Sports cars aren't bought for the same rational criteria as minivans, and we'll fully understand if you're planning to cryogenically preserve a late-period 3.4-liter Cayman S as your personal apogee of the modern sports car. But the 718 is a compelling reason to be cheerful about the future.